Hello everyone, today I'll be walking you through a guide to shaping meaningful learning experiences in early childhood education. Our focus will be on the relationship between assessment, the teaching learning cycle, EYLF, and the graduate teaching standards. By the end, I hope you all feel more confident using assessment as a tool to support and empower our learners. Here's what we explored today, and I have a few interesting questions along the way to encourage reflection and collaboration. Let's see the teaching learning cycle, which has four reflective phases, which is planning and programming, classroom practice, assessment, feedback, and reporting. Finally, analysis for decision. This cycle is a key to creating coherence between our goals, strategies, and outcomes. It encourages us to reflect on teaching as a continuous, responsive process. What the what is the purpose of assessment? So, the purposeful assessment planning ensures that we are collecting meaningful data that informs our decisions. According to Tomlinson, planning acts as a blueprint. It connects curriculum, instructions, and learner needs. When we plan assessment, we must ask, why am I assessing? What am I assessing? What assessment method should I use? And how can I ensure quality in this assessment process? Finally, how can I use the informative from the information from this assessment? So the planning ensures assessments are aligned with curriculum outcomes, coherent across the teaching cycle, and finally inclusive and fair for all learners. So let's say the EYLF version 2, which encourages us to see each child as a capable and competent. It shapes teaching through three key emphases: holistic learning, which ensures nurturing intellectual, social, physical, emotional, and spiritual development. Secondly, ongoing observation and documentation, which helps in understanding learning over time. Thirdly, place-based and collaborative learning, building connections with community and context. Let's see the early years learning framework, which guides our practice in early childhood education and helps us to shape meaningful learning experiences for children from birth to 5 years. At the heart of EYLF is a powerful vision, which is belonging, being, and becoming. The framework also includes five principles that guide how we work with children and families, and we have eight practices that describe how we create rich and engaging learning environments. Finally, the EYLF describes five learning outcomes. These helps us identify and document children's growth across all areas. Here is a clear picture of EYLF. Let's see assessment. What is classroom assessment? Assessment is defined by Earl as the process of gathering evidence of what a learner knows, understands, and is able to do. It is not just about checking the knowledge but guiding learning. A strong assessment system determines current learning, provides feedback, improves outcomes. Thompson highlights four key principles of effective classroom assessment, which is reliability, which ensures consistency across time and context. Secondly, validity, which ensures measuring what we intend to measure. Thirdly, reference points, which is clear expectations or standards. Finally, record keeping, which ensures assessment is traceable and useful. Let's look at the three main approaches: assessment for learning, assessment as learning, and assessment of learning. So the assessment for learning, it is formative, which helps the tasks helps the teachers understand how the students are progressing. Feedback is provided to guide the learner's next steps. It informs ongoing teaching decisions. Example, let's see an example like a child builds a block structure. The educator observes their problem solving strategies and uses this to plan further challenges. Secondly, assessment as learning, which is a reflective. This supports students in reflecting on their own learning and becoming more independent and metacognitive. In early childhood education, reflective assessment encourages children to learn, think about their learning process, like how did I solve the problem or what could I try next time. It helps educators understand the child's thinking, interests, and strategies. Thirdly, assessment of learning, which is a summative assessment. The same task may be used at the end of a unit to evaluate and report what the child knows or can do. Results are used for documentation, reports, or reflection on early on learning goals. Let's see an example that the same block structure might be documented in a portfolio with educator commentary showing how a child achieved specific outcomes. Each has its place, but formative and reflective assessments are especially powerful in early years learning settings. What is effective curriculum decision making? It is a responsive, reflective process that places the child at the center. It involves making informed choices about what, when, and how to introduce learning experiences. These decisions are based on continuous observation, discussions with families, and evolving knowledge of the children's needs, interests, and cultural contexts. According to EYLF version 2, curriculum is not a static program. It is a collaborative, dynamic journey that between children, educators, families, and communities. When we make intentional and thoughtful curriculum decisions, we directly influence children's learning and development outcomes. We strengthen their identity by respecting and responding to who they are, where they come from. We promote community connections by incorporating local knowledge, cultural heritage, and social experiences. We enhance well being by ensuring children feel secure, supported, and emotionally safe. So the graduating teaching standard descriptors according to Australian Professional Standards for Teachers AITSL provides a professional framework. All seven standards are interconnected, but Standard 5, which is assess, provide feedback and report on student learning, is central to today's discussion. These standards supports us in being intentional, ethical and reflective practitioners. They helps us build our identity as educators. So, what is evaluating and modifying teaching practice? Assessment doesn't end with data collection. To be meaningful, we must reflect and adjust based on what we learn. Assessment data helps us differentiate instruction, provide meaningful feedback, foster learner agency, support continuous improvement. It is not just about modifying the what, but also the how and why behind our teaching. Concluding the topic, so to shape the meaningful learning experiences, we must use the teaching learning cycle to guide our decisions, plan assessments that are aligned with purposeful, apply EYLF principles to support the whole child for the holistic development, and reflect on and meet the graduate teacher standards, and most importantly, continuously reflect and adapt. I'll leave you with this quote by Mark Van Doren: "The art of teaching is the art of assisting discovery." Thank you, and I invite any final thoughts or decisions. Here are the references that informed today's presentation. All frameworks and research align with national standards and best practices. Thank you all for your time. Have a great day.